We're climatologically halfway through the Atlantic tropical season, and so far we've had 10 named storms, almost average for an entire season. This hurricane season has already set a few records, as well as featured some very interesting meteorology. Now, the first storm, Arthur, hit Belize in early June, followed by Bertha skirting Bermuda in the middle of July. Then Cristobal brushed the southeast U.S. coast a week later. Dolly made landfall in South Texas in early August, followed by Edouard in North Texas. Then came Faye, Gustav, and Hannah, all of which came inland in the U.S. And Ike will come ashore later this week, meaning that the year's first 9 named storms will all have affected land as either tropical storms or hurricanes. The first time on record this has happened. One of the most meteorologically remarkable storms was Faye, which was never a hurricane, but is a perfect example of how a tropical storm can still cause a disaster. After hitting Hispaniola and Cuba, the slow-moving Faye zigzagged across Florida, making landfall 4 separate times in the state. The first tropical system on record to do that. The first landfall was at Key West, followed 12 hours later by a second landfall near Marco Island, just south of Naples. Here's a close-up radar image right around that time. Notice Faye did not have a closed center. Instead, there was a rain-free spiral into the center. Now compare this to the image from 3 hours later, when the center was about 40 miles inland. A nearly solid ring of thunderstorms had formed around a closed center that looked a lot like an eye. In other words, Faye actually strengthened for a short time while it was over land, something that's very unusual. After crossing the state, Faye moved into the Atlantic, then it looped back and came ashore for the third time at Flagler Beach, just north of Daytona, then continued west, emerged into the Gulf of Mexico, and made its 4th landfall near Apalachicola. All told, Faye spent 5 days in Florida and produced some astronomical rainfall amounts, by some estimates the most rain dumped on Florida by any storm on record. And here's the totals over the entire life. Red indicates 5 inches or more, purple 10 or more, the light blue at least 20 inches. The highest amounts were 27 inches plus near Melbourne and about 20 inches near Tallahassee. And besides the rain, there were also more than 80 reports of tornadoes with Faye, spread across 5 states. And even if these preliminary numbers are cut in half, Faye will still have the record for most tornadoes produced by a tropical storm. And with all this history, Faye really should become just the second tropical storm to have its name retired, joining Allison from 2001, which dumped almost 40 inches of rain near Houston. Ike is the only active tropical system today, and it would have been a good bet that there would be one on September 10th. This is the climatological peak of the Atlantic hurricane season, and looking back over the last decade, there's only been 1 year, 2000, when there wasn't a tropical storm or hurricane active on this date. Stay with us. Fred will be back with the extended forecast next.